Things have calmed down considerably from this time last week, but still lots of questions about the direction of this Michigan football team. Let's get into all of that, taking your questions on the Michigan mailbag on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Lowell, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Feel like Buster Bluth when I say your man on the ground, because I was literally on the ground, outside, on the pavement, just making fun of myself. Thank you to all of our everydayers that check out the show every single day. Thank you for making us your first listen. We do appreciate it. We've got the Michigan mailbag, starting with the leaders and best, then the victors valiant, then the blue crew. For those wondering, those are just the designations between the people who have asked questions pretty much every single week, all the way back to 2018, or most every week. Then you got the victors valiant, who are the ones who maybe were a lot more late coming, but do ask questions most every week, come and go somewhat. Some of them have been asking every single week for years, but still. And then the blue crew, maybe just the occasional question askers. We're not getting to everybody today. I can tell you that much. We had 56 questions. So let's start with the leaders and best. James Crudup at James Crudup 6. Do you think Wink will be here next year? Not from the standpoint that he gets fired, but we would just rather be in the NFL 2 years in a row where he had to find out the hard way that simplifying the defense is better. I'm torn on this. I think in some ways Wink really likes it here. In some ways, I think that it's, he'd rather be in the NFL. I would say let's wait and see. Because I think a lot of it would depend on just how things continue, right? I think like anyone, he's happier if he's succeeding at his job, and if he's being treated well by those above him and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that it's just kind of let's just wait and see how things kind of progress, because like if it continues to be up and down, I could see him being like, yeah, I'd rather be somewhere else. But again, this is conjecture, right? Like this is not something that I know. I'm just kind of spitballing because it's the questions being asked. It kind of depends on the day whether or not I would take the bet of him staying or leaving. Let me just put it that way. That's where I'm at. Josh Barr at Jadicki. What should expectations be the rest of the season? The expectations should be that Michigan finds some kind of sweet spot where it can play within itself. It should win the next 4 games, which are Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland, and be competitive against Ohio State. At this juncture, right this second, this week, right now, I would take Ohio State against Michigan. That said, I mean, that would have been the case last year. I mean, we were all taking Ohio State against Michigan the day of the game. But, there were times in maybe not 23, but 21 and 22, where you would look at this same week and say the same thing. I don't think that Michigan going into Michigan State week, which was a week later in the season, was primed to beat Ohio State in that moment. So continual improvement, finding out what Michigan does best. Finding that killer instinct is still where I sit. You're right. Like Sherrone Moore is yet to coach more than one game in which he has been the head coach of a blowout situation. That game came against Northwestern last year. This year, Biff Poggi oversaw the Central Michigan game. Right. They could have blown out Wisconsin. They could have blown out Washington. But the lack of killer, and then that's not all up to him, right? That's up to the players. But getting the players in a position where they are both accountable and reliable is part of it, right? Like having those moments that could have gone Michigan's way, where the game could have gotten out of hand in a hurry. It really could have. Finding ways to do that, because that was like not vintage Jim Harbaugh, some of 2016. I mean, not some, most of 2016 and 2018. 2018 was always a slow burn. But 21 through 23, it was just kind of like the game was over for most of those games before it even began. Maybe not against like Penn State in 21 or 23, or even 22. But, against the lesser of the Big Ten, most of those games over essentially by halftime. So not every year, right? Like I'm just talking about that 3-year period. Sherrone's got to find that and then be able to go with it. My brother in metal, Michael Wolf at MWolf21. How would you remedy the first drive 3 and out? Seems to be a recurring issue year over year. They got to do better, I think, about scripting things, because that's the interesting thing when you watch other teams and their scripts. I mean, they might not go and score a touchdown, but you feel like there's like an ebb and flow that makes sense. And it's like these are the things that other teams just can't combat defensively. Michigan hasn't seemed to figure that out. Different coordinators over the course of the last couple of years, right? Sherrone Moore, offensive coordinator 23. Kirk Campbell last year, Chip Lindsey this year, still like having moments where it just feels like they don't necessarily just, where it's just they look unstoppable. You think about how Nebraska looked against Michigan. I mean, granted, they didn't score, but you think about how USC looked against Michigan. Granted, that was the whole game. Michigan's got to figure out like what's our best way to get Bryce going, get our running game going, take the other team off guard and put it all together and make it one cohesive drive. That's how I would remedy it. Just figure out what are your bread and butter plays that aren't necessarily ones we're going to use throughout the whole game. The ones that take the most advantage of the opposing defense, that catch them off guard as much as possible. Right. They tend to weirdly have it against Ohio State. They didn't necessarily the last couple years, last 4 years really, or 3 years rather. But like you think about 2021, you think about 2019, it's just like that where it's like, man, they're just driving down like nothing, like hot knife through butter. They need to figure out how to do that against every team. Jonathan Joseph at J Joseph 2156. Why are Michigan fans so negative all the time? It's funny. It's the, John U. Bacon line. Michigan fans aren't happy unless they're unhappy. I think that's a lot of just fan bases. That's probably pretty much everybody. Things start going poorly, even in the moments, right? Like you always see, fans getting all worked up in the moments when things are going bad, right? Like they don't wait. It's drive 1, 3 and out. Everything is doom. And I'm thankful that in games I'm not on the message boards, but I always get the progress report from my best friend, Doug. I mean, also it's kind of like just expectations versus reality. Sometimes it's not understanding in the moment that the game lasts a whole 60 minutes, all that kind of stuff. And I think also by having really 3 rivals, but we only see 2 any given year at this point, with Notre Dame not really being a part of that anymore. I think with that you expect, especially with how good Ohio State has been year over year for 60 years, I think that you want to see Michigan look sharp enough to beat Ohio State any given drive. And it just doesn't work that way. So people kind of get outside of their own ability to understand like this drive doesn't define the season, and they start to use that, any kind of given moment to define everything. Finishing us out in segment 1, Spencer Whitmore at Spencer Whitmore. What is happening with both our kickers? Also, sorry to hear about your hand. Thanks. I am too. It's not fun. It doesn't hurt that bad anymore. Although, quick funny story. I'm at both the urgent care and then the orthopedist. And they both ask, like, what's your level of pain 1 to 10? And both times I'm like an 8, and they're both like, oh, cool. Like, what do you mean? Oh, cool. Give me something for the pain. Nothing. But right now I'd say it's if I don't move it too much, it's a 1 out of 10. It's nothing. It's just more of a hindrance. As far as the kickers, I think a little bit of the battery of snap, hold, kick hasn't been that great. And I think that's kind of starting to get into, as far as Dominic Savada, I think that's kind of gotten into his head a little bit, because it's early problems, right? You just kind of get out of rhythm. Now you're trying to overcompensate, all that stuff. Hudson Hollenbeck is a weird thing, because he really, and this, I get, this is more, I don't sit there and watch the punters in pre-games. I don't really watch what's happening in pre-games. I'm just taking pictures. But like Alejandro Zuniga said to me, I believe it was at the Nebraska game, he's like, it's interesting because if you watch him in pregame, he's incredible. He's like, you'd think he's the best punter Michigan's ever had. He's just kicking 55, 60 yarders every single time. And then he gets into the game and he's kicking it 25, 35 yards. I think it's just the yips for Hudson Hollenbeck. I had a 55 yarder this last week. You hope that, that was his last punt. I remember what that feels like. I'm going to do that more and more. All right, we've got so much more to get to and not enough time to get to everybody. We will get to as many as we can here in just a moment. But before we do, let's be honest. Most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what we are worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track. And that can mean not anything. It can just mean leaving money on the table. I'm just going all willy-nilly here. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. It's helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and get a better handle on my investments without having to touch a spreadsheet. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it much easier to understand where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. It's helped me organize my accounts, track my spending. I think I already said that. Yeah, I did. We're doing good today. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, we'll continue on momentarily. But before we do, the NFL season is here. Your Detroit Football Lions are 5-2, just like your Michigan Wolverines. And FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet. Put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets that you can use across the app. It's incredible. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I built same game parlays, tried player props, and even followed live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something extra riding in on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, continuing on with the Victor's Valiant, leading off with Edwin Simmons. Happy Tuesday, my brother in Christ. Hope the finger is healing fast. Turns out it's a knuckle. Like I thought it was the finger. When I tweeted it, broken finger, they said it's broken. I just assumed it was my index finger. It's actually this region right here is fractured. Is it possible Chip looks at any of the open head coaching jobs? I don't think that he's currently wanted for that, to be honest. That's not a knock against him, but like, what's the, he didn't have a good shot at Troy. He's not like looked at as one of the top offensive coordinators in the country at the moment. Is the team traveling Friday or Saturday? I'm not sure. I think Saturday, but I'm not sure. They haven't said, but I would imagine they will stay in Ann Arbor and take a bus in on Saturday. The status of the defensive backs this week, I think they're going to be good. Rod Moore, Brandon Hillman. I think they'll be back and good. I think. I'm not the one at William Cawthorne 9. Isn't there supposed to be someone in the booth advising Sherrone to challenge plays? Why wasn't that first down by Bryce challenged? According to Sherrone, and I don't know, like, if it was that play, if it was the Jordan Marshall play. The Jordan Marshall play seems like that was called dead, like the whistle blew it dead as he was still surging. The other one, I don't know. And for one of them, he said he wasn't allowed to challenge, and it might have been that latter one. I don't know. It sounds like he wanted to. I was confused on the sideline. Either way, it is what it is. I don't have an answer for you. Is the team culture really what they say it is? There are rumors of a locker room fight. Now, the rumors of a locker room fight. Let's clear the air a little bit here, because obviously this show has been a little bit at the centerpiece of all of this. Not a little bit, completely at the centerpiece. It wasn't a locker room fight. It was. I got to be careful here, unfortunately. But there was some consternation between coaches. Okay. And it's at this point solved. And as you say, the team culture is what they say it is. I mean, the team culture is they won the football game despite all that. Okay. And so I had heard that before anyone comes at me, either a listener, someone at Michigan. I have heard that from no less than 7 people in the know. 7. So with that said, I mean, the team culture is clearly in a good spot. And like I said all last week, winning cures a lot of ills. Okay. So that is, listen, if they lost this last game or they looked lifeless, then there's problems. But when you have momentary problems, which I think are somewhat expected after a loss the way they lost at USC, then that's having those moments are not unexpected. Actually, I think it's healthy to have those things. right? Instead of just be like, well, we got blown out in Los Angeles. Kumbaya, my Lord, right? Like, I don't think that that's the way like that should go. There should be a moment of panic. But the reason why at the beginning of the week, when I'm saying I am not troubled by anything, it wasn't because that stuff wasn't happening. I mean, on Monday show, we didn't know because it hadn't happened yet. By the time we found out about it, it's like, oh, I mean, that could be a problem. But it's still like, okay, they'll get over it. There have been those moments in the last 4 years beyond just this year, right? Beyond just last year. There have been those moments. It happens. And I mean, not really in 22 or 23 because they didn't lose in the regular season. But I mean, it's how you respond to that tells about the culture. Continues plain and simple. Is this Michigan team a good football team? It is good enough. I think they could be a very good football team by the year's end. Remember, no one in 2021 was sitting there looking at Michigan as a college football playoff team. When they, even before they lost to Michigan State, but certainly after, it kind of felt like, oh, that was nice while it lasted. And now they're right back to where they were. I mean, they had won some hard games, one in Madison for the first time in 2 decades, one at Nebraska. But, otherwise you had what? You had Northwestern. You had a couple also ran teams. Washington, who had lost to an FCS team before they came to Ann Arbor. So it's about building. And I think they're still building. So we'll see. If they got 5 games left, you hope that their best game before Ohio State is the one that comes right before it, which would be Maryland at this time. It doesn't always work that way. It didn't work that way in 2023. So Poggy Stogie at Wolverines Libertatis. Did Marshall starting help us find that grit and toughness identity? It seemed like half of his carries, he and the O-line pushed the pile for an extra 4 yards, and the team was feeding off of it. Helped the pass game too, setting up a play action. I think I am going to go ahead and agree with you on that. Because, again, I think that having that mentality of having a guy that's going to rough those things out, it does boost the mentality of the offensive line. It pushes them to be better and tougher and everything. And it's going to be interesting when Haynes comes back because it allows both of them to feed off of each other. And it allows, I think, like I said yesterday, one of the more important stories coming out of the game, Marshall showcasing a different style of running, considering when asked what their differences were, it was always, they're not really that different. And now from what we've seen in game, they are very different. The two, Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall. James Kovalevsky at Coach_Kovo. Which inside linebacker do you think is better and should be getting more reps between Jimmy Roller and Cole Sullivan? Just personal preference, Cole Sullivan. I mean, Jimmy Roller had maybe his best game. I'm not sitting here grading every game. I'm just kind of going off. This could be recency bias. I thought he had maybe his best game. He didn't really feel like he was that out of position, especially compared to the last week. That's part of the recency bias. Cole Sullivan has just been excellent so far this year. Like all in all, like there's just very few moments that I can think of where I'm sitting there like, Cole could have really played that better. So I would go with Cole. I just feel like you don't really want to take him off the field. Jacob Chavaria at Chavaria. Do you feel like all of college football is still punishing Michigan for Signgate? It's obvious with the officiating and the AP poll. I mean, AP poll is fine, whatever. I mean, they've lost 2 games. But I mean, the lack of calls officiating wise. I mean, my buddy Josiah, that's what he said. He came over to watch the USC game, and he's like, I have a theory, and he said that, and I was like, that might be not just probable but plausible, because like so many of those plays that are like, oh man, this other team had a huge play. It's like, how did that get sprung? It's like a guy's almost to the quarterback and then gets like tackled, and it's just like right in front of the officials. So to me, yeah, it kind of feels that way. Thoughts on deleted tweets from a current player about Jack Tuttle not being in the locker room? I'm not really going to address it. It, is what it is. I hope that there's no strife between Jack in the program or me and the program or whatever. But, me and players, when I say the program, I mean players. You know what? That's frustration boiling over. Again, I stand by what Jack said. I do. Perry Mitchell at Perry Mitchell 08. Price is on pace for 2,470 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 6 interception. Team record aside, how would you feel about those stats as a true freshman? I mean, that's not that far off. If that's a 12 game, that's not that far off from what I had thought, right? Like, I think I said like 2,700 on the year, and that would have included a bowl game. So if that's, I don't know if you're including a bowl game or not. I mean, I think that's pretty good because he's like not really averaging 200 yards. I mean, maybe it is 200 yards a game that he's averaging technically, but I mean, I guess that would be 2470. I mean, that's a vast improvement. I think that there's other mitigating factors, wide receivers, sometimes poor pass blocking, poor play calling at times, great play calling at times. It's a hit or miss. Kind of the nature of this team, hit or miss. Lonnie Dub, do you think Michigan tends to favor upperclassman versus playing the best player? Upperclassman, I'm assuming. That's all three words here. Playing the best player or hot hand? Sometimes. And sometimes it feels like it takes them a game to figure it out. I think not always, right? Like you're seeing way more Andrew Marsh, but I think sometimes it just takes them a game to figure that out. Chubbs GB at Talk with Chubbs. My guy, what's up? Hope all is well. Over the years, you've mentioned tight end Deacon Tonielli. How was it to finally see him in action? And also, I have a suggestion: breaking the huddle with Tuttle. Nope, it's going to stay what it is. The Tuttle thing, it's always going to be in the pocket because I'm being obstinate. As far as Deacon Tonielli, I mean, yeah, it was good to see him finally, have a couple, big catches. Would have been nice to see him come down with the other one, but it was played very well by the person in coverage. Don't know if it was linebacker or DB offhand. So yeah, it was really good to see him finally have that moment. I don't have anything more than that. At Yoder77, how realistic do you think it'll be for Michigan to be 9-2 headed into the game? I think it's highly realistic. With Michigan's A game, we should be able to play and compete with anybody, but the struggle seems to be bringing the A game every game. I agree. I don't have much more to that. We have so many to get to, so we'll continue. Duran Snavely, could you give any more intel on the defensive coaches becoming more collaborative? What does this mean? Why the change? I saw the report from Josh Hedgeke. I don't know any more than that, so I will defer to him. But I think all he said was, like Lamar Morgan's more active in the game planning and stuff like that. Clark at Blue for Life. Are you surprised we still haven't seen Jamar Browder, or has he been in and just not that noticeable? I'm a little surprised, but again, like we weren't seeing Nico Collins at this time his freshman year, so it's not super surprising, and it's fine at the moment, right? Like you need him more next year than you do this year because you've got Donovan McCulley and Andrew Marsh. Wolverine Warrior, Wolverine Champ 1. If you were the head coach, what is your plan for recruiting, retention of players, transfer portal, coaching staff, game plan schemes, etc. for next year? Bro, that's a whole episode. I'm not going to answer that here. Thoughts on Lane Kiffin's comment? Is the hammer going to drop on another school for all of the cheating? I think that's the only reason we wanted to do it. Again, sign stealing is part of football. The question, as always, has been were the signs acquired? Talking about Brent Venables, I think it's worth wondering how he's acquired the signs. I'll say that much. That's all I got there. BW at BW2623. Do you think Michigan's poor showing on the road is a concern for Saturday, or is MSU so terrible that the game location doesn't matter? I think they don't really have to travel, so it's not really, I'm not that concerned. It's like playing at home for the most part. Do you think Haynes will play on Saturday? I do. I just have the feeling. Gary Klein at Klein Gary. Wouldn't it benefit Michigan for Sherrone to downplay this game as another game rather than a rivalry? State will do everything to muddy this up and make it dirty psychologically. It seems like it'd be better to treat them as Rutgers rather than an OSU type game. No, you need to treat it like a rivalry because of that, right? Like you have to understand, like if they do things to muddy up the game, you need to be able to respond correctly. Number one. So yeah, I mean, it can't be treated as like, they go at your shins, go at their knees. Like, no, it can't be that. But like, you have to be able to, you don't want to go in feeling like, what's happening? I don't understand. You don't want that either. AJK4UM, hashtag go blue. So what is this team? The one that showed up against Washington or the one that couldn't do anything right against USC? Or is it going to be Jekyll and Hyde the rest of the year? And if so, how is that not Moore's fault? I mean, it would be on Sherrone Moore. Absolutely. But yes, I think that's exactly what they are at the moment. And I think it's in large part because it is a Jekyll and Hyde team. It's an experienced yet the youngest team in the Big Ten. And they're still figuring a lot of things out. So, I think that's just who and what they are at the moment. The Rican Raider at Hamstand 87. Hey, Isaiah, hope you're well. Do you think all fans should be more forgiving of a loss or two? College football to me has more parity like the NFL now. So you're bound to drop one or two just having a bad day. Yeah, I think that's kind of accurate, unfortunately. It is what it is. All right. We've got to move on to the Blue Crew. We're going to get to them here in just a moment. But before we do, college football is back, and I could not be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands are just nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. The app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices, with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I've pulled up Game Time, and you can see in just a couple of taps. Amazing, amazing deals. Get into the place for $25 type of deals. The app makes it super simple. You can even see the seat view before you even click that you're buying. And guess what? With Zone Deals, you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats. You save big. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. That's the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, as usual, we don't have much time for the Blue Crew. So many people just ask questions all the time. So we got about 4 minutes, a little bit under that, 3.5. Jason at Go Blue VA, were Hillman and Moore benched for disciplinary reasons, as some have suggested, or were they working through injury? They aren't listed on the availability report, and I think that's what caused people to question the situation. I have no idea, to be honest. I don't. And that's all I got there. I mean, when I say I have no idea, I'm not being tongue-in-cheek. I really don't. Brendan Sitchak asks, start talking about the playoff scenario. What do we need to do / other teams need to do for us to get in? Just win out. That's it. Win out and you're in. You beat Ohio State, you're in. But you can't lose another game. David Pruden asked, do you think that the offensive game plan was more open on Saturday because Haynes was out? If so, should we keep Marshall at running back one to maintain the creative play calling? No, I just think it was what they felt they needed to do to beat Washington. At what point Saturday did you feel the momentum of the game switch Michigan's way? I never felt beyond the first drives from each team, right? Like I had to see Michigan be able to drive the field and they didn't score, but and I had to see Washington drive and get stopped. I felt pretty early that Michigan was going to win that game. For those who say like, oh, we didn't really know until the second half. I never really felt like Michigan was in danger of losing that game after about maybe the first 5 minutes of the game. Matt at U of M Kewen. It's good that the coaches and players don't talk publicly about the insanely low numbers of calls against the opponents, but I assume they've sent some place to the league. Wondering if they have any explanation as to why Michigan can't draw flags. I mean, they have. They've sent them to the league. They've talked about it a little bit. I mean, nothing much more than can say that it just keeps happening. Go Blue Plus at MDT2K9. How often do you say something with subtle allusions that you know more than what you're saying directly in hope that we can extrapolate what isn't being said? If you're doing it often, could we start getting a secret gesture indicating you're indirectly spilling the tea? I don't really do it I usually kind of tell you if I've heard something and like the proximity that I have. I'll tell you I make it pretty clear, I think, when I know something versus when I'm guessing. So I don't really want to add more to that. Ethan Smotherman, do you think Sherrone Moore finally handed the keys to his coordinators last week? No, I just think that they played better. I think that they did what they were supposed to do and the players executed and all of that stuff too. Justin Rambron, with the flip season coming, Michigan recruiting seems to be on the quiet side. Also seeing some commits trending towards other schools. Any concerns there? Is it affected by the official visit limit and revenue sharing sanctions? No, I think they only started really having people coming. Some of them are going to look around. Julian Walker being the son of a SC strength coach. I mean, that's you're going to lose some and they'll probably win some too. It's just, this is the type of point in the year that it's like that. Justin Bracey, too. Any truth to speculation that this is what Wink's last season here? At this point, none of that is anywhere close to being decided. So, for whether it's on Wink's terms or Sherrone's terms. So, Darth 17514, your thoughts on Morgan's punt returning woes and if changes are coming? I don't believe changes are coming, but it's got to get better. That's all I got. What time we got? Let's see. Pretty much everything. Everyone else asked the same question that as far as I can see. So that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back. I think there's a scheduling conflict with Jack Tuttle, so we'll figure that out if he's going to be on or not. I got a text. I didn't respond to it yet. But we'll have a show Wednesday. That'll happen. Whether it's with Jack on Wednesday or we have him on Friday. That's it. Peace.